Picture this. It's May 2026, and you are standing in the wellness aisle of your local market.
Oh, yeah, the dreaded wellness aisle.
Right. Or, maybe you're sitting on your couch just scrolling past yet another highly targeted ad on your phone. The exact ones I'm talking about.
Oh, absolutely. The algorithm knows.
It really does. And the
Yeah.
sheer volume of bottles and pouches and glass tinctures it's completely overwhelming.
It's a lot.
It is. You've got these minimalist pastel labels just screaming at you about hyper-focus, extreme longevity, cellular energy, ultimate stress relief.
Yeah, the marketing is aggressive.
So aggressive. And whether you are just simply trying to tweak your morning routine, just to get through a grueling workday without a massive crash,
Right.
or maybe you're an entrepreneur looking to formulate your own private label wellness brand, you are facing this massive hurdle because the gap between those flashy marketing claims and the actual undeniable clinical evidence is just incredibly vast.
It really is.
Honestly, it is a minefield out there.
It's a minefield because, well, we are looking at an industry where the sheer velocity of product innovation has completely outpaced the average person's ability to decode what they are actually holding in their hand.
Yeah.
We are way, way beyond just taking a chalky daily multivitamin,
Totally.
The biological complexity of what is being sold today, it requires a completely new level of consumer literacy.
Which is exactly why today's deep dive is so crucial. We're pulling our insights today from this really exhaustive 2026 guide. It's titled Nature's Supplement, a comprehensive guide to natural dietary supplements.
That's a fantastic resource.
It really is. It was put together by Lorraine Fabian over at Ingredientsage, and it's essentially the ultimate playbook for the modern wellness space.
Yeah, it covers everything.
So our mission today is straightforward, but it's really vital. We're going to arm you with the practical tools you need to, confidently navigate this space. We're going to unpack the actual biological mechanisms behind these massive ingredient trends you keep seeing, and we're going to give you a masterclass in label literacy, risk mitigation, and quality control.
And that is the perfect framework, honestly, because the modern consumer, which is you listening right now, demands so much more than just a bulleted list of vague benefits on the back of a cardboard box.
Right. Supports health. What does that even mean?
Exactly. There is actually a quote from an industry expert in the guide that really sets our baseline for today. They note, in 2026, the most successful products marry robust science with transparent storytelling.
I love that phrase, transparent storytelling.
Right, because today is entirely about showing you how to peer behind the curtain of that storytelling to see if the science actually, holds up.
Yeah, and before we can even begin to analyze the quality of a product, we have to look at what everyone is actually buying right now in 2026.
Yeah, the landscape has completely changed.
It really has.
Okay.
The days of buying a supplement just because it has a cute picture of a green leaf on it, those are over. We've moved firmly from the novelty phase into the era of daily routine.
We really have. Just look at the absolute explosion of adaptogens and functional mushrooms.
And they're everywhere.
Right. We're talking about botanical ingredients like ashwagandha, rhodiola, panax ginseng, holy basil.
Yeah.
10 years ago, you had to hunt these down in some very niche, dusty health food store.
Yeah, that smelled like patchouli.
Exactly. But now they are absolute mainstream staples. People rely on them for stress resilience, for, sustained energy without the caffeine jitters, and for mood support.
And right alongside them, you have the functional mushroom book.
Oh, huge.
Specifically, I'm thinking of lion's mane, reishi, and chaga. I see these everywhere now, not just in capsule form either.
Right. They're in everything.
Yeah, they're in coffee replacements, protein bars, and even crossing over into topical beauty serums.
Yeah, skincare is a huge new market for them.
And the driving force there, according to the source material at least, is the rapidly expanding body of clinical research into their neurotrophic properties.
Which is fascinating stuff.
It is. Meaning these compounds actually support the growth and survival of developing neurons in your brain.
Yeah.
Plus, they offer massive systemic anti-inflammatory benefits. But here is the catch. As these ingredients have moved from being just a trendy novelty to a daily necessity, the way they are manufactured has had to evolve.
Because consumers finally realized that just grinding up a root or a mushroom and stuffing it in a pill doesn't actually guarantee it will do anything for your body.
Right. Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah.
Because this is the crucial shift for anyone listening who just wants to stop wasting their money.
Absolutely.
The guide points out that informed consumers and formulators, They're no longer satisfied with a label that simply reads, 1,000 milligrams of mushroom powder.
No, that's meaningless now.
Yeah, they are actively demanding standardized extracts.
Right.
Like if they buy ashwagandha, they want a guaranteed specific percentage of withanolides, which is the active chemical compound.
Right.
For rhodiola, they demand specific levels of rosavins. For those functional mushrooms, they're looking for exact percentages of beta-glucans and trehalose.
And understanding why that standardization matters is really the very first step in protecting yourself.
Okay, walk us through it.
Well, think about how a plant grows, right? If a rhodiola plant grows during a drought or in really poor soil, or it gets harvested a month too early.
Right, nature's unpredictable.
Exactly. It might look absolutely identical to a healthy plant once it's dried and powdered, but its internal chemistry will be completely different.
Yeah.
Yeah, it might have literally none of the active rosavins that you were paying for.
Okay, let me try an analogy here to see if I'm tracking this correctly.
Go for it.
Taking an unstandardized root powder is a bit like blindly grabbing a handful of unroasted coffee beans, eating them, and just hoping it has enough caffeine to wake you up.
That's a great way to put it.
Right, like you have zero consistency. Standardization, on the other hand, is like using a high-end espresso machine. It guarantees the exact right dose of the active compound, the caffeine, every single time.
Yes, that is a much more accurate way to look at it. You are extracting and concentrating the exact molecule that does the heavy lifting, which ensures batch-to-batch consistency.
It makes total sense.
But what's fascinating here is how that concentration is actually achieved in the laboratory, because the extraction method itself can completely make or break the product.
Really?
Oh, absolutely. The guy draws a very sharp, crucial distinction between hot water extraction and dual extraction alcohol systems, particularly when we're dealing with functional mushrooms.
Break that down for us. Why would, boiling a mushroom in water be so wildly different from soaking it in alcohol?
Because biological compounds have completely different solubilities.
Okay.
Imagine trying to wash, thick motor grease off your hands with just cold water.
It just smears around. It doesn't work.
Exactly. You need a solvent, like soap, to break down that lipid layer. Mushrooms are very similar. They contain incredibly valuable water-soluble compounds called beta-glucans.
Right. We mentioned those.
Yep. And hot water extraction pulls those out perfectly. But mushrooms like reishi and chaga, they also contain compounds called triterpenes.
Triterpenes, okay.
And triterpenes are the compounds responsible for a lot of the liver-protecting and antiviral benefits, and they are absolutely not water-soluble.
Oh, I see where this is going.
Yeah, they require an alcohol solvent to be properly extracted from the really tough woody matrix of the mushroom.
So if a brand is just trying to save money, and they only use a cheap hot water extraction process on, say, a chaga mushroom, you are essentially losing half the medicinal value of that plant.
You're losing the triterpenes entirely.
Wow.
Yeah, you might be buying a capsule filled with this really beautiful brown powder that has practically zero of the specific therapeutic value you were actually seeking.
That is wild.
And this is exactly why the source text stresses that a brand's transparency about their specific extraction methods is a massive indicator of their credibility.
Okay, that paints a pretty stark picture. But, knowing how the active compound was pulled out of the plant is really only half the battle.
Very true.
Let's say we have the perfect, standardized, dual-extracted raw material. What happens when you actually swallow it?
That's the million-dollar question.
Right. Because if your body's digestive system just destroys it or, simply can't absorb it into the bloodstream, it really does not matter how brilliant that laboratory extraction process was.
No, it doesn't. It's the biological equivalent of a dropped phone call.
Oh, I like that.
The message was sent, but the receiver never got it. The delivery system, meaning how that molecule survives the harsh, highly acidic environment of your stomach and actually makes it into your systemic circulation, is everything.
And the source highlights two incredible examples of this evolution in bioavailability: omega-3s and curcumin.
Both great examples.
Let's tackle omega-3s first, because the shift here is fascinating to me. The plant-based alternative isn't just an alternative anymore. It's actively taking over.
It really is. Algal-derived DHA and EPA are just dominating traditional fish oil right now.
And the shift from fish to microalgae solves a massive cascade of industry bottlenecks, doesn't it?
Oh, completely. First off, a lot of people don't know this, but fish don't actually produce omega-3s natively.
Wait, really?
Yeah, they accumulate them by eating algae.
Oh, wow, okay.
So by going straight to the algal source, we just bypass the middleman entirely. And this solves immense sustainability and overfishing concerns. Plus, it completely eliminates marine-based allergen issues for consumers.
But the guide points out it's also about having a controlled environment, right?
Exactly.
Like when you source from algae grown in these closed indoor fermentation bioreactors, you aren't pulling from an open ocean filled with microplastics and mercury.
That's a massive selling point right now. Suppliers are competing fiercely on the microscopic purity of the algal strains themselves, the absolute absence of heavy metals, and using completely solvent-free processing.
It's amazing how fast that tech is scaled.
It is. Yet the real cutting-edge innovation isn't just the pristine sourcing, it's the delivery technology.
Right.
The market has seen this massive surge in advanced delivery mechanisms to ensure these molecules actually get utilized by your cells. We are talking about liposomal formulations, microencapsulation, and the use of bioenhancers like piperine.
Okay, let's slow down and define those because this is where the labels start to look like advanced chemistry textbooks.
Fair enough.
Let's use turmeric, specifically its active compound curcumin, as the prime example. The guide says curcumin essentially requires an enhanced delivery system, like a liposomal formulation or piperine, to act as an effective anti-inflammatory.
Yes, it absolutely does.
Why is raw turmeric just so useless on its own?
Because curcumin has notoriously terrible bioavailability. The human body treats it almost like a foreign invader. Seriously.
Yeah, it just wants to metabolize it and flush it out through the liver and kidneys as rapidly as possible.
So it barely even registers.
Right. If you just eat a spoonful of raw turmeric powder, only a microscopic fraction of the curcumin ever actually reaches your bloodstream.
So how does a liposomal formulation fix that?
Okay, think of a liposome as a microscopic spherical fat bubble.
Okay, a fat bubble.
It acts like a biological Trojan horse.
Mm-hmm.
In the lab, scientists encapsulate that fragile curcumin molecule inside this protective lipid bubble. And because the outer layer of the liposome is made of the exact same material as your own cell membranes, your digestive system doesn't attack it.
That is so clever.
It really is.
Yeah.
The liposome safely bypasses the destructive stomach acids, travels to your intestines, and seamlessly merges with your cellular walls, releasing the curcumin directly into your bloodstream.
Okay, and what about the piperine? You mentioned that earlier. How does black pepper extract help?
Piperine takes a totally different approach. It temporarily inhibits certain digestive enzymes in the liver.
Basically, it just slows down the liver's natural clearance process just long enough for the curcumin to be absorbed and utilized before the body can flush it out.
Wow. Okay, I want to pause here and offer a bit of pushback, though.
Sure.
Think about the average person listening to this, maybe staring at their medicine cabinet right now.
Yeah.
Are we just making this wellness journey overly complicated?
Yeah.
Does the average person really need to worry about the phrase liposomal microencapsulation, or is this just like a highly technical, clever marketing excuse for a brand to charge an extra $20 a bottle?
That's a very fair question. But if we connect this to the bigger picture, we can see that these aren't just trendy buzzwords designed to inflate profit margins.
Okay.
These delivery innovations were developed to solve documented, actual clinical roadblocks to human health.
How so? Give me a tangible example.
Take traditional fish oil. One of the primary reasons patients abandon their omega-3 regimen is the severe gastrointestinal upset.
Oh, the dreaded fish burps.
Exactly, the infamous fish burps. Advanced microencapsulation entirely prevents the oil from breaking down in the stomach. It releases it further down the digestive tract where it causes zero reflux.
Oh, that's brilliant.
And regarding the curcumin, it's just a matter of basic economics. It is not just about premium pricing. It's about actual clinical efficacy.
Meaning it actually works.
Right. If you buy a cheap, unenhanced turmeric supplement for, say, $5, your body absorbs almost none of it. You are essentially just purchasing very expensive, vividly colored urine.
Gross, but true.
So paying slightly more for a liposomal delivery means you are actually getting the anti-inflammatory benefits you are paying for.
I suppose paying for a product that actually works is ultimately cheaper than buying 10 bottles of something that just passes right through your digestive tract like water.
Exactly.
But, this presents a new problem.
Which is?
You can't just look at a capsule in the palm of your hand and magically see a microscopic liposome. You can't visually inspect algal oil and know if it was grown in a pristine bioreactor or a contaminated vat.
Yep.
So to protect ourselves, we have to shift our focus away from the pill itself and toward the ultimate weapon in the consumer's arsenal: the paper trail.
Oh, the paper trail is where the marketing strips away and the unvarnished truth lives.
The 2026 guide makes it crystal clear that there is a non-negotiable standard today, and that is the batch level COA, the Certificate of Analysis.
Absolutely non-negotiable.
If a brand doesn't have this, you should immediately walk away.
COA is exactly what it sounds like. It is a comprehensive laboratory report that details precisely what is, and just as importantly, what is not, in that specific manufacturing run of the product.
Let's break down what a consumer is actually looking at when they pull up a COA. First, it details potency, proving that the, say, 500 milligrams of ashwagandha they claim is on the label is actually inside the pill.
Crucial first step.
Then it details purity. It outlines strict microbial limits to ensure there is no E. coli or salmonella. And critically, it provides exact parts per million testing for heavy metals like lead and arsenic, pesticide residues from the farming process, and any residual toxic solvents left over from the extraction phase.
And along with that internal COA, the guide highlights the necessity of third-party verifications.
What should people look for there?
Look for seals from independent bodies like USP, NSF, or IFO for marine oils. They audit the facilities and they randomly test products right off the shelf to ensure the brand isn't just, faking their internal lab results.
And understanding the regulatory landscape behind all this paperwork is fascinating because it varies wildly depending on where you live.
Oh, it's night and day.
Like in the United States, the baseline regulation is DSHEA, the Dietary Supplement Health and Education Act. And reading through the source, DSHEA allows companies a fair amount of leeway.
A lot of leeway, yeah.
They can make these structure function claims, meaning they can say a product supports joint health, as long as they have some evidence and include that standard disclaimer that the FDA hasn't evaluated the claim.
But if you cross the ocean to the EU or the UK, the regulatory environment is a completely different beast.
Really strict.
Unbelievably strict. They heavily police permissible language. A brand operating globally has to navigate an incredibly complex web of rules about what they can legally say a product even does.
Wow.
Yeah, the European Food Safety Authority requires massive clinical dossiers before you can even hint that a vitamin cures a specific ailment.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. The guide makes this profound point about traceability that goes way beyond just catching a contaminated batch of pills.
Yeah, the supply chain aspect.
Exactly. It points out that global supply chain disruptions happen constantly now. Climate events, geopolitical tension, shipping bottlenecks.
Is unavoidable.
So when a brand has explicit molecular traceability, meaning they know the exact harvest dates, the specific farm coordinates, and have unbroken chain of custody documentation, it protects both their business and you, the consumer.
Because they can pivot.
Right. If their primary source of rhodiola fails because of an early frost, a brand with deep traceability can instantly pivot to a secondary, pre-vetted source without sacrificing an ounce of safety or efficacy.
There is a fantastic quote from a quality assurance director interviewed in the text that sums up this current landscape perfectly. They said, "Consumers and retailers want traceability from raw material to finished product, not a once-in-a-while certificate."
Yes. It is no longer acceptable to test one golden batch in January and just use that same piece of paper for the next 12 months.
Not at all. And that demand has birthed what the source calls progressive disclosure.
Progressive disclosure. Explain what that actually looks like for the person listening to this right now who is, just browsing a wellness website.
It means radical transparency is baked right into the shopping experience. You don't have to email customer service and beg for a lab report anymore.
Oh, that used to be the worst.
Right. Now you can just click a traceability tab right on the product page or scan a QR code right on the physical bottle. Progressive disclosure means brands aren't just sharing a generic pass-fail grade. They are publishing the actual testing methodology used.
Oh.
Yeah. They are sharing the accreditation of the independent lab that did the test, and they are publishing their internal acceptable limit thresholds. They are literally showing you their math in real time.
And as a consumer, your personal label literacy is what saves you time, money, and health risks.
Absolutely.
You should be looking for clear lot numbers printed on the bottom of the bottle so you can look up your exact batch. And if it's a cosmetic or a beauty-adjacent serum featuring these natural extracts, the guide tells us to look for standard INCI naming.
Crucial for skincare.
Yeah, INCI stands for International Nomenclature of Cosmetic Ingredients. So instead of a label hiding behind some proprietary marketing phrase like, soothing botanical blend.
Which means nothing.
Right. It forces the brand to use the exact globally recognized scientific name of the plant.
Yeah.
It actively prevents them from masking cheap synthetic fillers as natural wonders.
It forces accountability at the microscopic level.
Okay, so let's play this out. Let's say we have successfully navigated the minefield.
Okay.
We have found the perfect product. We have a highly standardized ashwagandha extract. We have a highly bioavailable liposomal delivery system so our cells can actually utilize it.
Sounds great so far.
We have scanned the QR code and reviewed the batch level COA, proving it is 100% pure and rigorously traceable. We are perfectly good to go, right?
I have to stop you there.
Uh-oh.
Because pure does not automatically translate to harmless.
And that brings us to section 4 of the guide, which tackles this massive, incredibly dangerous psychological trap in the wellness community.
That's so prevalent.
It is the persistent myth that because something was grown in the dirt and is entirely natural, it is therefore inherently safe for everyone to consume in literally any quantity.
We have to completely dismantle that idea.
Yes.
Natural simply tells you the geographic or biological origin of a molecule. It tells you absolutely nothing about how that potent, pharmacologically active molecule will interact with your unique, highly complex human biology.
Right.
I mean, hemlock is completely natural, and it will kill you.
Exactly. And the text provides some very sobering practical examples of this exact danger.
The interactions are real.
Very real. Certain adaptogens, as wonderful as they are for lowering cortisol and managing stress, can actually compete for the exact same metabolic pathways as prescription antidepressants.
Which is incredibly dangerous.
Yeah, potentially causing severe mood destabilization. And high-dose turmeric extracts, those highly bioavailable liposomal ones we were just praising earlier for their incredible absorption, they can directly inhibit blood clotting.
Right.
If you are already taking a prescription blood thinner, combining the two could literally lead to dangerous internal bleeding.
And this vigilance is particularly vital for special populations. If you are pregnant, lactating, formulating for pediatric use, or dealing with chronic conditions like kidney disease or autoimmune disorders, you require incredibly cautious, medically supervised dosing.
You can't just wing it.
You cannot just blindly take a high-potency, standardized botanical extract simply because some influencer on social media said it gave them energy.
So what does this all mean for you? How do you practically apply all this dense information to your daily life?
Well, the guide lays out a very clear, actionable safety protocol.
Break it down for us.
First, when you are introducing any new product to your routine, always start with a lower dose than what is printed on the bottle. Don't just jump to the maximum serve.
Maybe he's into it.
Exactly. Keep a personal log, just a note on your phone, is fine-tracking your usage and any physical or emotional reactions over the first 2 weeks.
That's super smart.
And it should go without saying, but consult your primary healthcare provider, especially if you are combining multiple supplements with prescription medications.
And for the brands themselves, there are actionable protocols for how you should evaluate them. Reputable companies must have a documented QA, or quality assurance, hold process for any batch that fails a COA. That means if a batch shows, like high lead levels, the product is physically locked down. It does not move to shipping until there is a rigorous root cause investigation, corrective actions at the manufacturing facility, and independent retesting.
And as a consumer, you evaluate that integrity by shortlisting manufacturers that are explicitly GMP certified, which stands for Good Manufacturing Practice.
Essential.
You check their labels for crystal clear allergen warnings and GMO disclosures, and you look for very specific storage and handling requirements.
Oh, give me an example of that.
Well, if a brand sells a highly fragile liposomal vitamin C, but their label says it can be stored in a hot, humid warehouse indefinitely, their science is flawed. That is a massive red flag. The lipids would degrade.
This raises an important point, though, about brand psychology and communication. You mentioned the dangerous assumption that natural means harmless.
Yes.
Responsible, ethical brands actively fight that assumption right on their packaging. They run away from blanket statements like, 100% safe for everyone.
Oh, absolutely. They avoid that like the plague.
Instead, they offer precise, highly visible contraindication statements. They will tell you exactly who should not take their product.
Exactly. And you must view that level of blunt transparency as a default requirement to earn your money, not some premium add-on that a brand just does out of the goodness of their heart.
That is such a crucial shift in perspective.
Yeah.
A warning label isn't a sign of a dangerous product. It's a sign of a scientifically literate, honest company that actually cares about your biology.
Precisely. It is the ultimate indicator of trust in 2026.
So to bring this entire masterclass together, whether you are a consumer standing in that crowded wellness aisle, desperately looking for a lion's mane supplement to help you focus at work,
Right.
or you are an entrepreneur planning the launch of your own private label formula, the playbook is exactly the same.
It really is.
You have to demand batch-level COAs and look for progressive disclosure. You must insist on standardized, active extracts, not just vague raw powders.
Verifiable data.
You need to verify that the delivery method actually works to bypass your digestive system. And you must never, ever mistake Matrol for Carmelis.
It requires a profound shift in how we think about everything we put into our bodies.
It really does.
The level of rigorous scrutiny we are talking about here, like machine-readable COAs, progressive disclosure, tracking the exact microscopic withanolad content of a root, it is rapidly becoming the baseline standard for the supplement industry.
Which is a great thing.
It is. But exploring Laurent Fabian's guide leaves me with a final, somewhat provocative thought to ponder.
Oh, lay it on us.
If we as consumers are successfully demanding this incredible level of molecular transparency for a tiny 500 milligram capsule of herbal powder,
Yeah.
how long until we see this exact same level of data demanded for the actual whole foods we buy at the grocery store?
Oh, wow.
Right. If you demand to know the exact heavy metal limits and pesticide residues in your half teaspoon of ashwagandha, shouldn't you demand that exact same verifiable data for the giant bowl of raw spinach you eat every single morning?
Wow. That really forces you to zoom out, doesn't it?
It really changes your perspective.
The soil is the soil. Whether it is growing a medicinal adaptogenic mushroom or the salad greens you feed your family, the biology doesn't change just because we call one a supplement and the other a vegetable.
Exactly.
Next time you are navigating that overwhelming wellness aisle or simply tweaking your morning routine, keep that gold standard in mind. Don't settle for the flashy marketing and the pastel labels. Demand to see the science. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning what you consume, keep reading the fine print on those labels, and we will catch you next time.